Well, hello, and welcome back. I'm Auntie Sarah from CoffeeCraft, and today I just wanted to go over a portion of the last video I made about sewing a blouse, and I wanted to make a video dedicated to how I resized it to fit me using the slash and spread method. I hope you can grab yourself a hot cup of motivation and roll up your sleeves, because this is a really helpful tip. So after you have your pattern that you either want to size up or size down, the first step is to measure yourself. So since today I will be making a bodice, this pattern suggests that I measure my bust and my waist and my hip, along with a back waist length. So first we're going to go for the bust. Take our handy dandy measuring tape. You can measure in either inches or centimeter. Most patterns have both measurements defined. You want to measure the widest part of your chest and as a circumference. And you're going to want to make sure you are pretty level the whole way. A little bit low. So just readjust. It's helpful to do this in front of a mirror. Yep, that's pretty close. And then the waist is the skinniest part of your torso. It's not necessarily your hips, right? And again, you're gonna wanna just make sure that it's level. You don't wanna like super suck in or super blow out. Just be like a normal in-between breadth measurement. Not too tight, not too loose. You don't want it to be crazy tight unless that's the design you want. And then hips. We do the widest part of your hips, not actually where your hip bone is necessarily, right? The widest part around your legs. And again, I'm just going to triple check in the mirror here that I'm relatively straight across. What I'm doing right now is just a rough cutout of the pieces. I'm not trying to get super close. This piece of paper is just too unwieldy, or unwieldy, however you want to say that. So I'm just doing like a rough cut to get all these things cut out. You, again, should be extremely careful when you're playing with this paper. It's extremely easy to tear. So now we have a pile. So now we're going to do a much better cut right on the line, and I'm going to just cut out the maximum size that's printed here, and then we're going to make some adjustments on our mock-up. This. Okie dokie. So, I think I am ready to start cutting out some fabric here, but I did want to just go over the step that I did here. If you recall, the important steps from the Sewing for Beginners is actually, measuring yourself and comparing yourself to the pattern. Now, ideally, you'd be able to buy the right size for you, but as you buy other patterns, you may find that they just don't have one that is your size. And honestly, you're never going to be the exact same size, or it's very unlikely that you will be the exact same size as any of the sizes in the pattern. So it's actually pretty good practice to try to figure out exactly what differences you are compared to the pattern, and then we can do the slash and spread method and make the pattern for you. So you can see I was a couple inches larger than the largest size in this pattern, and I identified that there were 4 pattern pieces that were directly impacted by the bust, the waist, and the hip difference. So I split the I split the difference here. So we needed to add 4 inches in total to the bust, for example, and we have 4 pieces that would be impacted by that. So I'd want to put an inch on each one of those. However, it's important to know that there's 2 of this one, 1 of this one, and 2 of these two. So really we'll have an inch total on number 4 here, but we're only going to have 1/2 inch on the other 3 because there are 2 pieces that go around the body. And so that's kind of what I did here. For example, this is number 1, so we'd need 1 inch in total. So this is a 1/2 inch increase here. So that's so far where I'm at. The other pieces here are impacted by having a size difference. However, almost all of them are a very linear increase. So you see here it's the same in this same width. You just add a certain amount of length here depending on your size. And since this would probably put me closer to about 4 sizes bigger than this, I'll just literally take the same difference and just put it right here. So I'm gonna get my pieces cut out and then make sure everything looks good. Then we'll start doing the instructions in the pattern. Okay, so at this point I have the majority of a blouse. The section I'm on now is called the interfacing. This isn't a full lining kind of blouse. Really, they just take the facing pieces and then we just attach them to the front here. So it's a partially lined garment. It's not my favorite kind, but it is faster and it's more efficient for material. And I'll actually be wearing this outside somewhere where it may be warm. So it might be good that it's not fully lined, because then it's at least one less layer. But initially I was putting this off because I didn't know how well that was going to fit me with the slash and spread method. But actually I'm pleasantly surprised. So what I'm going to do is do the same slash and spread method on these pieces. This would go across the back and this would be across the front. So instead of doing the math against 4 different pieces, the math will now only be done against 2. So let me walk through that now. Okay, so I have just copied over the size increase that we want to do in inches here. And then I have our 2 pieces labeled and then how many inches we're going to add in the width for the 3 different circumferences that need to change. In parentheses here I do have it labeled that there are 2 pieces for 12 and then there's 1 but it's on the fold for 13. So because this is on the fold, both of these numbers need to be divided in half for the addition that we're going to add. Because there will be 2 of these pieces, so we don't want a full 2 inches at the top, we want only 1, so then it's on both sides, it's mirrored. So I will go ahead and make up the paper and show you. Okie dokie. So what I've done is I've added 1/2 inch here, 1/2 inch here for a full inch. That will be twice, so that'll be 2 inches. And then I've done the same thing here where this is just a full inch because it doesn't really matter, it's about the same length. So that'll be another 2 inches, so that'll be 4 inches across the bust. I ended up leaving it the same going down here because the point of this interfacing is to give some structure to where the buttons will be. It's not super influenced by the waist, so I'm just kind of leaving it straight as the original pattern show. So I'm going to get the pieces cut, including interfacing. So we're going to cut 2 fabric and 2 fabric, and then 2 interfacing, 2 interfacing, and then we're going to iron that on, and then we'll get to sewing. Okay, well thank you for following along in this crafty tip tutorial. I hope that you learned something today. I had never tried this method before, and I am so excited to keep this idea for future designs because it is quite hard to find patterns that are, you know, your perfect size. And even if you find one that you are the correct size for, you usually are not, you know, the same size for all of the different dimensions because we're not all the same body as the model that these pattern companies make all of the patterns based off of. So I hope that this gives you some confidence that you can go to Joann's, pick out the cutest pattern that you're really in love with without worry that it will be a totally incorrect size to you. Well, thank you for following along again. If you get excited about sewing and you want to learn more, I hope that you follow along with us in the future videos. Or you can also follow along on our social media. Those are all linked below. Anyway, I hope you have a wonderful crafty day, and I can't wait to see what we craft together next time. All right, bye-bye.